What's up, Aaron?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, how
Look
you
at us
been?
getting together.
Yeah, it's nice. First time here at your new office,
Yeah.
so
What
it's
do you
nice.
think?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I love the building, love the setup.
Yeah.
So
It's something.
it is. Yeah,
It's
so you guys
where,
are doing good.
yeah. Well, trying to take over the world. What we represent the people of Arizona, one person at a time, right here.
That's all we can do.
That's it, man. Well, I brought. Want to bring in because there's so few. We have a weird job.
We do. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a defense attorney, especially, we run into some interesting characters.
Interesting characters, interesting dynamics. Just interesting, and interesting is a great word to describe it.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, you see people at their worst, at their weirdest,
Yeah.
and that includes, let me say, civilians, regular people, but police,
Yeah.
prosecutors, judges. You see, especially in some of the cases that we handle, it's an interesting peek into humanity.
It is. There's a lot of different dynamics and different cases and different people, different personalities, and it all kind of intersects. And you have to manage all that. And it's a very demanding but rewarding
Yeah.
job. I wouldn't do anything else, to be honest with you.
Uh,
Maybe professional football player for a few years.
well, it's
but-
bullpen catcher, right?
yeah,
bullpen catcher.
Yeah,
You get
backup
the
quarterback,
league
like,
minimum,
Yeah,
right? You don't just.
I'm not getting hurt. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Other than on the knees, right? That's
Right.
Yeah. Masters golf, right?
That'd be great.
That'd be the other thing, but it's
That'd
got a
be
few
great.
years. But,
Yeah.
but I brought you in because, I've been in the child and intimacy crimes
Yeah.
world for 20 some years now, and it's a different area. And you're another attorney who works in that area.
I do. So for me, I've learned a lot from a lot of different lawyers coming up, right? I've learned a lot from you over the years and my current business partner, Dwayne Cates, and a lot of other people, but it's not an area of the law that's for everybody.
Right.
It really isn't. And to do it at the level that I think we do it at, that you do it at, that the people that we know do it at, it takes a lot.
Yeah.
It does.
And give us your firm name.
So I work Cates and Reed. We're based in the Biltmore area, kind of not far from your office here, probably 4 or 5 miles from your office here on 16th Street, just off the 51. And me and Dwayne Cates have been partners now for 4 years.
Uh-huh.
And then he hired me back as an employee back in 2018. So
Okay.
yeah, I've known him for a while now.
Yeah. And so Long and Simmons, we've been doing this for 10 years in private practice, but before that I was a prosecutor
Yeah.
and worked in sex crimes, child crimes, computer crimes, and there was a transition and the idea of always ask the question, right?
Yeah.
Well, how do you do what you do? And so I want to pose that question to you. Do you get that question a lot? How is it that you represent the worst of the worst?
Yeah,
Or
I
how
was
does
going
it
to
get
say
at?
in various forms, that question is something that I think every defense attorney's had at some point. But to me, I always tell people the same thing, that my job is to police the police. My job is to try to find the truth in a given situation, whatever that might be. And my job is to help a person accused of a crime navigate the system. And that's what our country is allowed to happen.
Mhm.
And if you're charged with a crime, if another person's charged with a crime, would you want to navigate that by yourself? Would you want to do that alone, facing a government that has endless resources? Would you want to do that, or would you want help?
Yeah.
And that's how I always like to answer that question, because people, they like to ask it sometimes in a condescending way. You're kind of a scummy guy for representing scumbags, but at the end of the day, everybody's a human. Everybody deserves their rights. They deserve to have someone there to help navigate those rights, and that's what I do.
Mhm.
Period.
I was talking to someone the other day, and they asked me about, oh, so you're on the other side now. And I said, I guess that's one way to look at it, but I don't really view that, because there's just evidence.
Right.
There's not really the state's evidence or defense evidence. There's just evidence.
Something that happened.
And
Yeah.
and you're doing the same thing, making the same analysis. Making you're not necessarily making the same arguments where you're saying, hey, this proves he did it. You're saying,
Right.
but you're dealing with the same stuff, and nobody can. As a defense attorney, you can't just sling bullshit.
Yeah.
And if you try to sling bullshit, if you try to just
I agree
lie
with that.
or
Right.
you lose credibility, and that's not going to help anyone. So you got to make the right arguments.
You got to make the right arguments. You have to be knowledgeable enough to find them, right, to make them. But I like that, what you said. Prosecutors, defense attorneys, we go against each other, whatever the adversarial nature of it is. But the goal for everybody, regardless of who you are, is to figure out what happened, right? And if you can't do that as a defense attorney, or if you don't have the wherewithal to do that as a prosecutor, or the ethical backbone to do it as a prosecutor, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Oh.
And you, as a former prosecutor, you've had to navigate a lot of different types of cases, types of crimes, different types of things, and child and intimacy crimes are something that you've had a lot of experience with, and you've gotten to see how it operates from both sides and how prosecutors should probably behave in certain situations and how they shouldn't.
And as you were saying, you're there to challenge police, but I identify. People ask me, well, actually, a defense attorney. I was in court, and they said, "Are you a prosecutor?" I said, "No, I'm the opposite." They said, "Oh, are you a defense attorney?" I said, "No, that's not the opposite." I said, "I'm a prosecutor hunter.
I like that.
I'm
That's
looking
good.
at what they've done improperly,
Yeah.
unfairly, incompletely." And it's the same thing with police, because prosecutors are an extension
Adjacent.
of what the police investigation
Right.
is.
Yep.
And so and it matters. It matters. It's like when there's an old movie, right? Is when the allegations are so serious, the truth doesn't matter. And sometimes that seems to be the case.
I would say more than sometimes.
And that
which is
can't-
scary.
That can't be the way. It just can't be the way.
That's not the way the system's designed to be.
So I want to talk a little bit about child and intimacy crimes in the news today.
Sure.
And did you see the CNN article that came out?
Yeah, the Rape Academy.
Yeah.
I did. I read that. That was very. First of all, it was interesting that CNN infiltrated that in the way that they did. I thought that was kind of interesting. But,
Yeah, what jumped out to you?
Well, see, me, I think the fact, number one, the scope, the worldwide nature of that kind of thing and the discussions behind it, but it is a weird intersection between going too far and having this fetish and trying to figure out what's over the line and what's not.
Yeah.
And I don't think those are always very clear. I think it's difficult for investigators to probably find those answers in those kinds of cases, in those kinds of contexts. But yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I know you had read that article as well. What did you think about it?
It was, first of all, that it highlighted something that we deal with a lot, which is Telegram.
Yeah.
Is that Telegram is an app where there's a group of people will get on, and it's something that we are seeing a lot of crimes happening on the app.
That encrypted kind of thing.
Yeah, and what it is you got a lot of people who will they'll come onto this what becomes like this group message chat room essentially.
Yeah.
And a lot of contraband images are being shared on that. And so child pornography, other
voyeurism things, all sorts of different
upskirting, voyeurism, surreptitious videoing, and in order to gain access to those groups, you have to provide your own images.
Right.
So they either have
Pay to play.
That's right. They either have to create them or find them or get them somewhere. So they are trafficking in contraband images.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was important and good to highlight that stuff, because I do presentations to families and organizations and people, and that's one of the things I tell people just to look out for is Telegram and those types of things.
Yeah, there are a lot of those apps they can be used for a lot of good reasons, a lot of good things, but just like anything else, all the way from Snapchat to Instagram to anything else, like there a lot of it's being used in bad ways, and the more advanced these apps get, I feel like the easier it is for these kinds of things to happen. And like I said, the global scale of it, the guys in Poland, the guys in
Yeah.
Italy, Russia, all these different places that they're all coming together in this closed world that
Right.
they can traffic all the things that they have created or maybe gotten or obtained as a currency and help learn and teach each other how to do it.
How to commit crimes and
Right.
how to engage in crimes. And I
Yeah.
get people coming to me often and they'll say they're worried that could I be could just contraband and child pornography just appear? Will it just get shared with me? And I tell them it's possible, but that's not
Extremely
really
rare.
It's not how the world works.
Yeah, I would be shocked.
It's kind of like the every time Halloween comes around and they say, "Oh, look out for people who are going to be putting weed gummies, out at handy." Well, that's expensive stuff, and people who like their drugs don't give their drugs out, so they're not usually doing that.
That's a good point.
And it's kind of the
That's a
same
lot
thing
of
here.
marijuana for the neighborhood.
People aren't really looking to share these images just with
I agree.
just randomly. And so what I tell them is it is pretty easy to avoid that stuff.
Yeah.
However, sometimes there are these groups that go in. There might be fetish groups that something can be shared without you wanting to, intending to, and if that happens, back out,
Get out
report it. You don't want that stuff
I
on your
agree.
phone, on your so start. And so that was interesting about the report or that CNN article, but I don't know that it provided as much. It seemed a little sensational. It seemed a little
Yeah.
And then the other part that just struck me was this red herring of when they were saying that there was this website, and I'm not going to give it out, but it's a .com that is a commercial pornography website.
Well known.
It's one of the older.
Yeah.
One of the
It's
oldest.
been around for a long time.
Been around since the internet's been around, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it does allow uploads of videos.
Right.
And it is very some depraved, some fetish, some kink, and it has a lot of paraphilias in there. So but it was a little conflated with as if that website was the Rape Academy.
Right. Like the ground zero.
Right, where people are going to that website to learn how to commit crimes.
Correct. Yeah.
And that
That's not
wasn't what they were saying. They were saying that the people who are committing crimes may use that site to
upload their videos.
But
Correct.
And those are
Yeah, that's a good point. I in a lot of these websites, a lot of very well-known, very commercialized pornographic websites, all have a lot of different categories, and they border on these kinds of things. And I agree with you. I didn't like the attack of that website just for people uploading them. And people are going to do things that are questionable on these sites, just like they do on non-pornographic sites, just like they do in everything else. And it's up to those sites to monitor and do what they can to discourage those kinds of uploads. But yeah, I think the bigger issue is more along the Telegram and those kinds of applications that would allow that to be shared in an open universe.
look, if you're a parent, it's important to be aware of the monitoring kids online behaviors and that. And the one thing is being exposed to that type of graphic material. There's red flags and there's there's
100%.
concerns with that. So it's good to be aware of that. But I don't think it's helpful to present that as if that's the
root cause.
that's right.
Yeah,
that
I agree with
thing
you.
exists.
Correct.
Again, it's harder to get access to it, but it's good to shine a light on things.
Absolutely.
Because the misperception is because we're defense attorneys that somehow that means we're pro criminal or pro crime.
Like we don't care about crimes being committed or something, which is the most ridiculous thing ever.
Right. What we really care about is police overreach.
Yes.
police incompetence, police negligence, prosecutor abuse of discretion and overreach, and ensuring that this system that really is designed to take away the liberty of someone is truly operating the way it's supposed to.
That's right.
But it's not vigilante justice or
No.
these types of things. And
We're not out there making excuses for
right,
people doing bad
again,
things.
pro crime, pro criminal. That's just not the
That's not
the case.
Yeah.
But again, it's handling these types of crimes, sex crimes, child crimes, intimacy crimes. What are some of the things that you've seen that makes you comfortable working in this area?
So I think that's a great question, because not a lot of lawyers are, and the ones that say they are, some of them might not be as comfortable as they think they are. But for me, it's all about, there's a situation, there's something that happened, and I want to make sure that the truth of that matter comes out. And I want to, and you have to be comfortable, if you're going to trial on these kinds of cases, you have to be comfortable talking about subject matter that is difficult, and images to see that are difficult images to see. And you have to be comfortable at least acknowledging them. You don't have to be comfortable with them, right? Because I think most lawyers would tell you, they go and do an evidence viewing of CSAM material. They're not all that excited about going and doing it. But
CSAM is what?
The child sexual abuse material.
Yeah.
Correct. So another word, like child pornography. And that's not a great part of my job, but it's a necessary part of my job. And I'm willing to go do that to make sure that the government says that they have child pornography. I need to verify it. Or that this victim come forward and says, yeah, I was sexually assaulted by this guy. Okay, I need to make sure that it actually happened. I'm not saying don't take people at their word, but from a defense attorney standpoint, we can't really do that. We demand evidence. Like you said, we want the evidence. We want these investigations to be airtight, and if it is, and it turns out that our client did do something wrong, then they're going to pay for it. And that's the way the system's worked. And for me, I don't get emotional about handling specific kinds of cases, because I feel like I can do it based on my mindset.
Yeah.
And I try to stay in that that frame of mind while I handle these cases. But knowing the material and the subject matter it's touchy and it's difficult.
Yeah, and I tell people, yeah, I'm like a surgeon.
Yeah.
You know, it's blood, guts. It's and it's.
Right.
But you have to be clinical.
Yeah.
In it, and I understand we live in a world now where, or you know, one of the concerns I have, or why it is easy to do the job, is number one, false allegations do exist.
Yeah, they do.
It just does happen.
It's a reality.
And now too often we're getting police who prove beyond a reasonable doubt that an allegation happened.
Right.
And then they start.
Right.
Or they prove beyond a reason, or prosecutors prove beyond a reasonable doubt that an investigation occurred.
Yeah.
But not that investigation actually tells you about something.
Did it yield the results?
Right.
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
And there, you know, I understand that it can be, at least in today's age, it's controversial to even say, well, let's challenge what that complaining witness said. And yet there are a couple different types of false allegations, right? There are the malicious false allegations.
Right.
And then there are the erroneous false allegations. And have you seen those in your work?
I have. I've seen both. And for me personally, the ones that are malicious tend to be the ones that we go to trial on. Those tend to be the cases where, if we can get the evidence that we can prove a person is lying, and we have a reason to kind of point the finger and say, hey, we know this isn't true. Versus other cases where maybe something did happen, maybe their brain's a little foggy, maybe they were drugged and they don't remember everything. They remember something did occur that they don't consent to, or something along those lines. Those ones do happen, and those ones you have to be careful, because you don't know, number one, what they went through, right? So you have to know where to push, know where to get the information, know how to get the information, but you also have to be aware that you're still doing a job for your client and trying to figure out what really happened. And I know there's a lot of attorneys out there that would pretty much take an allegation at face value. Like you said, the allegation, and we didn't really do an investigation, but hey, we have this allegation and this person said this, so let's wrap it all up and charge them. But not every attorney thinks along the lines like you and demands that kind of proof. And that's partly why I take these cases, but they are difficult. The ones where there are more accidentals or a gray area, those can be very difficult to navigate. But
Right.
and as a prosecutor, you're a prosecutor.
Yeah.
What would if you had something like that where it wasn't a malicious thing, right? How would you handle notifying the victim, going through that?
Yeah,
With them.
it's you language is behavior.
Sure. Yeah, I
And
agree.
so one of the things we do, whether we're defense or prosecutors, is trying to get specific with language. And so too often you get people who use either loaded language or overstated language, conclusory language, right? Legal
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Okay, I was raped. Okay, if we stop there, a person may have an idea of exactly what that means.
Right.
And
Sure.
then you say, okay, tell me about that. And I've seen recently a couple situations where the person who was accused of a rape, when both were interviewed separately, they both gave almost the same description of what happened.
Interesting.
And it's that they were both in agreement about a particular sex act was going to occur, and that's oral sex.
Okay.
And then as the in this case the complaining witness, happened to be female, was asked, okay, well you said rape, tell me about that.
Right.
And then they described that the guy finished somewhere that wasn't expected and that wasn't agreed on.
Sure.
And so this was a person who absolutely felt degraded,
Yeah.
violated,
Right.
and that what happened to her body in that context was non-consensual. But that's a very different concept than he forced himself on me and forced his penis in my
Right.
mouth.
Yeah. Forced oral sex versus this is what we agreed to up to a certain
Up to this point.
That's
right.
Yeah.
And the kid, the young man in that situation was just really kind of beside himself because
Sure.
he's saying,
Oh yeah.
I didn't
This was
force her.
consensual.
This was consensual.
Yeah.
I
Right.
understood it was consensual. And as I've talked to a number of people and some cops and other people who say, when you use some of these words, and if you've been exposed to, it really does go to, I think, our society's lack of sexual knowledge, education, and these things. And some people are overly exposed,
Yeah.
and some people aren't. But if you don't have a shared idea or understanding of a sex act, then you could say these words
Yeah.
and just have completely different
Yeah. Different meanings, different.
concepts.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Years ago, I was involved in the Kavanaugh hearings and was doing some analysis in that, and it was interesting because what she described freezing, and sometimes if the person freezes, that might be misinterpreted as giving consent. And so it can exist where a person is genuinely, strongly experiencing a crime, a violation of the body,
Right.
and the person on the other side is not aware
Yeah.
that that's what's happening. For example,
Yeah.
and these are complicated issue and they're sensitive issues, but that's where you genuinely say, yeah, I believe that you experienced something, and I believe you experienced this.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that person had
Yeah.
that same mental state,
perception
had
of
that
it.
same knowledge,
Yeah.
and
That's a good point.
though that's where the devil's in the details is when you
It really
do
is.
dig into that, because it becomes a question of, okay, did he do something? Did they do something?
Right. Got
That's
to parse out what is the wrong act.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it has to, or, if you can't give specifics about where or not necessarily time isn't really a factor, or is not necessarily an element in Arizona, but,
Yeah.
a specific act, for example. Well, it happened a number of times. Well, what's it?
Yeah.
And
What happened?
now you got to get to the specifics. Versus a person will say, okay, it was close to Christmas time,
right.
and I was wearing these clothes, and it happened in this place. Now you've got context, and here's the act that happens, and that just again, it seems cruel sometimes to force that articulation, and that's why victims don't like coming forward and don't want to come forward, and why going through the very forensic process is hell.
Yeah.
And yet,
Especially if it's done right.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and but if it's done right, then the police won't just rely on the complaining witness's statement.
Right.
They'll go get corroborating evidence to build a wall of evidence around them that then makes what we do
Difficult.
really difficult.
Very hard.
But when the police don't do that, that's when they fail both sides.
Correct.
Because due process is about identifying evidence, obtaining it, and presenting it.
Yep.
And if the police don't do that, then they fail the accused and they fail
and the
the
victim.
complaining witness. And that's why I
Yeah.
say it's really there's not really both sides. You're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Either you've given me an inroad to be able to attack, or you've built that wall of evidence around that person, or you've not. And if you do that, you're failing both,
Yeah.
including the accused.
And I think that is the best way of looking at that kind of situation and in these kinds of cases, because so many times I've been asked, or people comment, or people just in general public, oh, that lawyer got that rapist off or whatever. Well, did you see what happened? Did you see the investigation? Were you a party to the investigation? Do you know the facts? And when you don't, of course, like you said, people like to make conclusory statements. They like to make these statements that says, okay, I was raped, or no, you let that person off. That defense attorney got that person off. Well, you don't know the context about what happened. You don't know that the officers had every opportunity to get all the details from the victim in a variety of ways. And I know it's not easy, but if you approach victims that something happened to them, and you break it down into the smallest details, and you go point by point, and if it takes 10 hours, it takes 10 hours. If it takes 4 or 5 different sessions, take 4 or 5 different sessions. But you have to get the details out that matter so that the police can do their job, so that the prosecutor can do their job, so that we can't do ours.
Right.
And the people don't understand it that way. They don't see it that way. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that to me is how it should work. And when it works that way, then the victims get justice. The officers look like heroes. The prosecutors look like heroes because they're putting bad people away. And we're just the guys that were there doing what we can to help. And none of it really made, we didn't do anything to get that client off.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand that. So I think you articulating it that way is extremely important.
Well, and I say, I have cop friends. And when I went to defense, I said, hey, are we friends still? And he goes,
Yeah.
what are you talking about, man? He goes, I got to do my job.
Yeah, exactly.
He goes, and if I do my job, there's nothing you can do
Correct.
to stop what I do. And if I didn't do my job, then
You're gonna eat my lunch.
Then there's nothing I can do to stop you.
Exactly.
And if my guys, he's a supervisor, if my guys don't do it, well, then you're going to have to train them that way.
Yeah.
And so it's again, I get that it's that surgeon mentality. It's like two of the biggest assholes in the world are jobs, surgeons, and trial attorneys.
Yeah.
because of this mentality, as
It
we
is.
look at things just blood, guts, and that, and it's a part of job, and it has to be, and I get that.
Yeah.
But in addition to being trial attorneys, and I think one of the reasons why we're sitting here together is because we have personal relationships. We know
Yeah.
each other.
Oh,
We
yeah.
like golf. But we're also two dads.
Yeah. Yep.
And I guess one of the reasons here is to educate people about the real world of child and intimacy crimes, and also hopefully that people that listen to us and have access to us, well, maybe they can be in a better position for having listened to us than if not. Because my goal in doing this is not just to educate people, but hopefully provide material into the world that would put us out of business.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
for us to be out of business, that means these types of crimes aren't being committed anymore.
Yep.
And that's certainly what I want to see.
I mean, it's a better place, right? The world would be a better place.
I mean, we do DUIs, we do vehicular cases. I'd love for there to not be DUIs and
Death and gore and
right,
bad
tragedy.
stuff. Yeah,
We work in tragedy. We work in the tragic crimes.
we do.
And so to that end, and I know we're motivated by that, is I want to talk a little bit about some tools or some techniques that we've learned for families to help protect yourselves, help prevent abuse from happening.
Yeah.
Knowing that if we can't prevent abuse, one of the things that we want to encourage is that people do have the power and the ability to tell someone. And, we were talking before this a little bit, is this idea of, as parents, what do you do to your kids? What do you teach your kids, about these types of things? Is there anything you've thought about that you've yet incorporated? Your kids are a little littler than mine.
Yeah.
So you may not have had to start thinking about this as much. My kids are older and we've gone through it.
Yeah.
And so I guess from an older father to a younger father, let me offer one and some
Please,
some
I could
suggestions.
learn. Mine are 3 years old and 1. so-
Right. Or mine are 27 and 21.
Yeah.
But the first thing we teach is, well, first of all, that as kids in our home, you get to think the thoughts that you think and the feelings that you feel. We kind of emphasize that you always get to tell me about the things that you think and the feelings that you
I
feel.
like that.
But then in addition to that, we teach the difference between a secret and a surprise. And what we say is that there should never be a secret that is permanent. That secrets, that there aren't secrets. There are only surprises. And surprises are something that everybody gets to experience eventually.
Right.
And that there should never be a secret that isn't eventually known by the other parent, by another adult, by the other brother and sister.
Right.
Eventually, everybody is going to learn about this thing, and it's going to be a surprise, not a secret.
Yeah.
And so we distinguish between those things. Secrets are only temporary, like I said, and then we say, let's just talk about in terms of surprises.
Sure.
And that right away, we don't have secrets in our home, right? And but we're going to buy this thing for mom for her birthday or for Mother's Day.
Right.
Let's not tell her about what we bought her. That's going to be a surprise that everybody
Eventually
gets to
she'll
share
learn it.
in.
Right.
And very quickly, it's going to be really difficult for another adult to come in and tell, now this is a secret, because they're going to be programmed at that point. I don't keep secrets from my mom and dad. Everybody gets to learn eventually.
Yeah.
And if that kid learns those types of things, that's going to be a kid who's less likely to be targeted by somebody who wants to do them harm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and God forbid if they are, they have the structure and the power to tell someone about it,
that's it.
which is extremely powerful. It is not easy to talk about these things with people, but having a go-to group of people, whether it's your parents, your siblings, everyone should be able to talk to somebody without fear of judgment or whatever it might be. And having that in your family, that's great. I mean, that's amazing. I know me growing up, I confided in my brothers and sisters a lot. We were all really close in age. And I mean, there were certain secrets that we knew as brothers and sisters that came out later on in life about different things. And it's a surprise now, right? Now we all get to share in what happened.
Right.
But we all knew, at least there were some people in the family that knew what was happening. And we could trust each other with whatever it was. And I think having that is something for children is vital.
Yeah.
They need to be able to tell you what's on their mind without you reacting as a parent in a negative way, especially if it's something that they're struggling with.
That's right.
They got to be able to trust their parents or the people that are closest to them.
Yeah. Well, this is the first of hopefully many conversations we're going to have on these complicated topics, and along with always providing resources to families. Because at the end of the day, we're trial attorneys, we're criminal defense attorneys, but we're just dads.
Yeah.
Interested in the well-being of our children and other people's children, and that includes not just children but people who need to be protected from the government, from police, and have their rights advanced. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you are in need of help with somebody that's navigated this waters, give one of us a call. Aaron Reed with Cates and Reed.
Yeah, on the door as of this year.
And Matt Long with Long and Simmons.
Yeah.
One of us will help you, and we even work together to make sure that we can get the best information to people and represent what is real. Because what is real in the area of crime sometimes complicated. I'm not sure often what's true, because often what's true
can be tough to find.
Yeah, but we can get to what's real.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And so that's what we do. Well, more soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, friend.